fellow humans, and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to talk about the queer books of 2016. I was going to call it the most anticipated queer books of 2016, but well, I compiled this list before the new year, and due to difficulties I didn't have a chance to film it, so one or two of them have already been published. But I've read some of them and they deserve to be mentioned anyway, so I figured why not just talk about them. They should be so much fun. Now, I hope to keep this fairly light-hearted because if you've read many queer books, you will know that there is a quite unfortunate trend for them to be incredibly negative, that gay characters can't be happy. Well, that's bollocks, they can. We need to change that, and some of these books will hopefully show that. I can't say for certain because I unfortunately am not in the position to get any arcs. We can only hope. Now, the first book I want to talk about this year is The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson, or Liza. I'm not sure how to say that name because it has so many variations. Strictly speaking, this one is cheating because it was released in January of last year, but at the beginning of this year it was released in paperback rather than hardback. And I have to say, I adored this. I bought it on the 5th of January at around 5 o'clock in the evening. By 3 o'clock the following morning, I was completely finished. I stayed up specifically for it. I would have had it done faster, but I was visiting my grandmother's, and well, there are some books it's just not comfortable to read around your 83-year-old grandmother. She asked questions, she didn't even realise that being a lesbian was an option. It's just easier to avoid the subject. But this is a marvellous book about what it means to be trans, and what's fantastic is that it comes from two different perspectives. One is a trans woman who is known as David but wants to become Kate, and there is Leo, who is a trans man. They are both at school, and it's British, so it's a British YA novel specifically about trans characters, and that's something that's missing. I have found more trans novels about Americans, which, to be fair, many of them are fantastic. But for a little trans kid who happens to be living in London or anywhere in the UK really, for them to read about a high school where it's all full of jocks and cheerleaders, they don't feel much towards it because it's nothing like their experience. And something like this is marvellous. And the two characters in this, as well as being trans masculine and feminine, they both come from different aspects of society. David comes from a wealthier, almost middle class family, although not quite, while Leo comes from a very working class council estate family. It's about how different it can be from the two sides of this, and it's marvellous, and you must read it. The second book I want to talk about is Jerkbait by Mia Seagate. It features Tristan and Robbie, two twins. Tristan is straight, Robbie is gay, and it focuses on their relationship. Robbie is apparently some sort of athlete, an NHL prospect, whatever that means. It's an American thing, I'm afraid, so I don't have a clue. And Robbie, because he's closeted, he tries to kill himself. So Tristan and he have to share a room so that he can make sure that Robbie does not try to hurt himself again. And they start to repair their strained relationship. Robbie wants to run away and meet this guy he'd been speaking to for months online, and Tristan has to decide whether or not to help him and repair this strained relationship and become brothers again, twins, or to tell his parents, ensure the safety of his brother, but potentially lose him forever. Because I read so few books about brothers that do not involve dark magic and chosen ones. So this would be an interesting change, and hopefully for the better. Possibly the book I'm anticipating most is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson, which is a gay science fiction novel with a gay male protagonist. I don't know his ethnicity, but given that it's not mentioned, he's probably white. I love science fiction, and the concept for this one sounds fascinating. Henry has been abducted by aliens, periodically, several times over his life, starting when he was 13. And for whatever reason, he's been told that the world is going to end in 114 days, unless he presses this button. As far as he's concerned, the world has not been great. His boyfriend committed suicide last year, things have been going very wrong, his brother has dropped out from college and has got someone pregnant. He's wondering, is the world worth saving? And that's what the book is about. Not only is it queer fiction, but it also looks about the values of the world, and I like that. It's something that I enjoy very, very much, so I'm looking forward to this. The next book I want to mention is Timekeeper by Tara Sim. This is well, I'm not really sure what to call it. I'm going to call it magic, but possibly magical realism. But in this world, every city, every town has a clock tower in it. And if that clock tower breaks or is destroyed, time stops within that city. No movement, no life, nothing, just frozen. Our main character Danny, his father has been trapped in a town not far from London for 3 years, or is it 2? I'm not sure. And even though Danny is an expert clock repairer and clock worker who can not only repair clocks but repair time itself, can't save him. Danny is assigned to fix a broken clock tower in the town of Enfield. And there's a boy there who he mistakes for his apprentice, who is in fact the spirit of the clock tower of Enfield, and he can control the time within it. They begin to fall in love with one another, which is strictly forbidden, but they do it anyway. And then someone is attempting to blow up the clock towers and stop time all over, including the one in Enfield. So in order to save the man he loved, he has to solve the mystery. And well, this sounds fun. I find stories involving time manipulation and what would you call it, chronomancy, to be absolutely fascinating. Why am I doing that with my fingers? I'm not Rumpelstiltskin, dear Liz. The next one I want to talk about is the ABCs of LGBT by Ashley Mardell. Ashley Mardell is a queer YouTuber who helps to educate people about queer issues, be they through explaining the various terminologies and how they work, or more in-depth exploration of identities. It's quite fascinating, and she has recently launched a campaign to turn her ABCs of LGBT's YouTube series into a book which shall be published in hard copy and sold in bookstores, and then also available for free online in digital format, so that anyone who wants it will be able to access it. It's a marvellous idea, and Ashley comes across as a lovely person in her videos. She's very passionate, she's very kind, and always tries her best to be educated about queer issues. And if she doesn't know anything about a particular issue, she will find someone who does, and she will learn from it, rather than just making a guess and making mistakes. She does make mistakes because she's a human being, but she learns from them. Seriously, go and have a look at the ABCs of LGBT playlist, which is pretty good, I have to say. And if you like what you see, why not go and support this, because it's a fantastic idea, and I don't know why other people haven't come up with it before. It's something that needs to be done, I feel. Symptoms of Being Human by Jeff Garvin is a book about what it means to be gender fluid. It is fiction, as most of these books are, because I enjoy those far more. This specifically follows a person called Riley, who sometimes identifies as a boy and sometimes as a girl. They live in what is described as uber-conservative Orange County. The name is familiar, but I can't quite place it, but I imagine it's somewhere in the southern Bible Belt states of America. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Riley has set up an anonymous blog to talk about her problems, her struggles with life, what it's like to be gender fluid, and it becomes a viral sensation when she wasn't expecting it. And it brings her hope, something to cling to, so that one day it will get better. It gets her friends, and one day someone in the comments discovers that it's her and announces it, and is essentially outed, so she has the choice to abandon everything that the blog brings her. If you are familiar with queer fiction, you probably know one of the next two authors. David Levithan and Nina LaCour came together to write You Know Me Well, which is about Mark and Kate, two classmates who sat next to each other an entire year but knew nothing about one another, who bumped into each other in a town far away from where they live, where they study, where it's revealed that both of them are certainly queer. We don't know if they are gay or lesbian because there isn't enough information, but they both certainly feel same-sex attraction. And they quickly become the most important people in each other's lives, apparently. I don't know if that means that the two of them will fall in love, but probably not. I'm getting the sense that this is more about the two of them being good friends and helping each other to find love. As with most David Levithan things, I also get the impression that it's probably in a world which is, would you call it homonormative, where it's not that queer people are the majority, rather that it doesn't really matter what your sexual orientation is. I quite enjoyed reading Will Grayson, so I look forward to this. The next book I want to talk about is Traversing Gender, Understanding Transgender Realities by Lee Harrington. This is a non-fiction book specifically about what it means to be transgender, what the terms mean, whether transsexual is a word that should be used or not. Essentially, I have read very little about trans characters, or well, not just characters, but what it means to be transgender at all. So something like this, which is supposed to be factual rather than solely steeped in fiction, may be particularly helpful in my understanding of this. After Marriage Equality, The Future for LGBT Rights by Carlos A. Ball is just what it says. It's a book specifically about the future of the LGBT movement in America, but also in the world as a whole. Certainly in the UK, because we have had marriage equality since March 2014, I believe. And it's a talk about, now that people have achieved marriage, what should happen with the LGBT community? Should they focus on trans issues, bi erasure? That's why I want to read it, because really, last year when marriage equality was announced in the US with the Supreme Court judgment that Etobicoke fell, well, many people will say, surely that's the end, there's nothing more to be done. But there is always something more to be done. And we need to discuss exactly what it is. Dire by Moonslight by Rachel E. Bailey is lesbian werewolf fiction. I'm getting the sense that it's going to be quite like the Kate Daniel books by Ilona Andrews that I really enjoyed, but more lesbian. I have read next to no lesbian fiction apart from The Colour Purple and Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, so I thought that this might be a good step to take because I really like urban fantasy. And werewolves are always fun. I've always preferred vampires, so wanted to expand my horizon on two fronts. The next book I want to talk about is by Stephen King, but not the Stephen King you're thinking of. This is Stephen Graham King, an entirely different author who just happens to have a very similar name. He writes mostly gay science fiction, which I'm all up for. I love science fiction, I love gay fiction, why not combine the two? The one I specifically want to talk about is Soul's Blood, but the summary is a bit strange, so I'll have to read it rather than summarise it myself. Equal parts troubleshooters and troublemakers, Keen and Lexa Blue, along with the sentient ship Maverick Heart, have been known to solve a problem or two, for the right price that is. Even so, they aren't prepared for a summons from a loved Keen thought long past. David Adisi is now the technarch of Brighter Light, one of the greatest corporate colony states in the Galacton, which is on the brink of war with Satari, descendants of a people changed by nanogenetic experimentation. Seeking only to live a quiet, simple life free of the technology they blame for the worst part of their history, Satari has struggled to coexist with Brighter Light, which to them represents the worst of their own history. And now the uneasy truce has finally crumbled. In his last-ditch attempt to save their world, David has finally called upon Keen to help him finally bring peace. Genetic modification, nanotechnology, wars and queerness. What's not to love? Well, wars aren't great, but they're fun to read about. The final book I want to talk about today is Straight James, Gay James by James Franco, the actor that is, who is also apparently a very, very clever man and who is an exceptionally good writer in his own right, not just good at performing other people's writing. It's a collection of poetry about many things, mostly about his life, his experiences as an actor, as a student, as a teacher, as a friend, all sorts of things. Apparently there's also an interview in which Franco answers the question which, if you go on Google, is the most Googled question about Franco. Is he gay? Now of course I'm only interested in this because I've heard that Franco is a very clever man and not because I might have a little bit of a crush on him. He is a very handsome man, but he is also very clever. And of course, I could go on and on talking about many, many more. In fact, a lot of Jen Campbell's stuff. She has a few books supposed to be coming out this year, and she herself is bisexual, and she's amazing, so check all that out. But I would be here all day if I were to talk about every single queer book that's coming out this year, and my camera battery is dying, so I'm afraid I can't. So I'm afraid for today, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you found it informative. If any of these catch your eye, let me know. Talk in the comments, I love the talking. Until next time, goodbye!